Jordan Burday, along with Lisa Burkhardt Worley, and you're listening to Pop Talk, the show where you never know what topics might pop up. Do you feel like you've aged out of being influential in the world? Do you think you don't have anything to offer anymore? Well, if so, today's program may change your thinking, as we will speak to an influencer who is speaking up for the aging population. Lisa will introduce him.
Well, thank you so much, Lane. Our guest today is Dr. Mark Rutland. Dr. Rutland has served as the senior pastor of Calvary Assembly in Orlando, Florida, and also as the university president of Southeastern University in Lakeland, Florida, and Oral Roberts University in Tulsa, Oklahoma. He's a native of Texas. We love that. And he was educated at the University of Maryland, Candler School of Theology, at Emory University in Atlanta, and holds a PhD from the California Graduate School of Theology. Through his ministry, Global Servants, Dr. Rutland has traveled as a missionary evangelist all around the world and has founded ministries in Ghana and Thailand. He's also a sought-after speaker for leadership seminars and conferences in the United States and abroad. His new book is called Keep On Keeping On: How to Die Young as Old as Possible. Great title. And in it, Dr. Rutland offers a refreshing perspective on how to age gracefully with a fun and witty attitude while still having a God-given purpose. So welcome to Pop Talk, Dr. Rutland. And considering that Lane and I both are probably in your target audience, this new book is of great interest to us. Why were you inspired to write Keep On Keeping On?
Well, it's my 20th book, and it's totally different. As Monty Python said, now for something entirely different. It's totally different from any of the others. 19 that were very serious, not in a negative sense, but they were very serious books. This is lighthearted. It's funny. It's full of very funny things. I just felt like that so many people my age and our age, though I'm a lot older than you two ladies, but in the age of seniors, whatever people call themselves seniors, 50 or 55 and up, I guess, have just let brittleness and anger and self-pity turn their joyful faith in their latter years into a kind of a sad, angry spirit that is just antithetical to what they say they believe their whole lives. And the Bible says that the joy of the Lord is our strength. So anything that sucks joy out of my life steals the strength of God in my life. And I don't want to lose my joy at the end of a life of joy.
Oh, I love that verse. I heard that, 20, 30 years ago. And it makes so much sense. Joy, you have joy and you have God's strength. You know, he tells us not to complain. I was complaining about having to fly to Cleveland and all the snow. And then I thought, no, God calls us not to complain. And I love that about joy. Well, Lisa and I attend the same church, and the staff is definitely turning the reins over to the younger leaders, which she and I kind of go, yeah. But as older members, we still believe we have a lot to offer. Do you think there should be a mix of both young and old in church and secular leadership? And if so, why is that important?
Yeah, it's very important because on the one hand, you have all of the energy and vitality and creativity of the young people, but the older leadership brings a level of stability and wisdom that is absolutely necessary. Now, the responsibility for us on the older end of that perspective is that we live in a world that's become strange and alien to us. You ever be watching television and you realize you're watching an ad and you don't know what they're advertising? And when they tell you what they're advertising, you don't know what it does. You're in the checkout line at the grocery store and you see the tabloids there. And on the cover, there are people that are supposedly famous. And you don't know who they are, you don't know what they do, and you don't know why you should care. And you suddenly realize Clark Gable and Myrna Loy are gone. And you just You just feel like you're in a world that is not the world you grew up in, and it can make you fearful and angry, and filled with, worst of all, filled with self-pity. And if you can learn to laugh at yourself, you remember the Carol Burnett show. I wonder if you're old enough to remember that. And
Oh,
there
yeah.
was,
She was one of my favorites.
oh, mine too. And you remember Tim Conway was on there, and he played this old dude that would shuffle around. You remember he played, and
Yes.
remember how funny that was? It's still funny, only now it's us. And
Now.
you just have to be able to laugh. If you can't laugh, your joy is gone. That's the reason I wrote the book. A merry heart doeth good like medicine. So I say, take your medicine like a big girl.
I'm laughing, but just imagining that I am a little bit creakier and I wake up kind of stiff, and I know I move slower than I used to, because I was one of those that raced around the house, and now it just doesn't. And after maybe I straighten up the house and clean, I am so stiff and so worn out. And Dr. Rutland, I'm going to admit that I have trouble with aging. When people, this is a pet peeve of mine, when people refer to me as young lady, I think that's code for you're old. I mean, I really do. And I've actually approached people about that. I said, that means I'm old, doesn't it? And they're like, it's like they don't expect that response. And so I do believe that younger people look down on those of us who are aging, and I've really repented to the Lord for the times when I was younger, when I treated older people differently. So why do you believe aging is demonized in our culture?
Well, some years ago in this country, we bought into a youth culture that venerated youth, saw youth, and every kind of surgery in the world to make yourself look young, or make up everything in the world to live in the delusion that everybody else is aging, but not me. And once that happens, then you lose that thing which is actually built in many cultures, particularly in Asia, by the way. Age, not youth, age is venerated. And it's a shame that sense of the wisdom, and part of it is we've done it ourselves by acting angry and filled with self-pity and all that. We actually hurt our own selves and the respect that we have for us as seniors. If we can be joyful and attractive and winsome, and I don't mean attractive physically, that battle I lost. So, but I'm talking about attractive in terms of personality, the joy and the positiveness and the generosity, the graciousness of age. I don't want to be that old guy that spends my senior years chasing kids out of my yard. Get away from my apple trees. I don't want to be that guy. I want to be the old dude that everybody in the church is glad when I show up. Our son pastors a church, a substantial church in Georgia, and we attend that church. So as the pastor's father, it's not a job, but it's my function. I hang around the lobby of the church. I greet people. I say hello, and I love to joke around with the teenagers, and I laugh with them and tell the boys they're handsome and the girls they're pretty and all that. The youth pastor got a job elsewhere and left. And the teenagers asked my son to make me the youth pastor.
Oh,
well, well, I didn't, it wasn't, I can't take that. I mean, I wouldn't last 24 hours, one lock in, and I'd be in a nursing home. But, but the joy of that, they wanted this fun, happy, generous old dude to be the youth pastor. That was one of the great days of my life.
that is a compliment, and I understand. Okay, one thing about aging, Audrey Hepburn never had any plastic surgery. And she
Mm.
kept saying that the beauty is inside. Now, I don't know if she knew the Lord, but I love her stance on beauty. And also, I was reading the list of all the best picture nominated. Now, I'm a movie buff. I love movies, loves movies. And I looked at my husband, I said, I know of one out of the list of 10. I hadn't even heard of them. So back to your thing where you'll see musicians or people on the front of magazine, I'm starting to kind of be out of the loop. So I totally understand. So
Hey, Lane, I just want to add one thing here, and I'm going to admit it here, but I'll never admit it again. I do not know one song that Taylor Swift sings. I'm going to just say it. And I'm just going to add that today, and I may cut that out.
No,
Um,
don't cut it out. That's
no,
important.
don't cut it out because it makes you real. And the only reason I know some of them is I took my teenage daughter to see her when she first started out. So I heard a few, but I don't keep up with it. You know why? I think when you have Christian ministry like the three of us have, I'm focused on Christ and praising him. I'm really out of the secular world a lot, and I think that's a good thing. So let me ask you this. In your life, what is something you have learned about aging? This is such a good question that no one wants to talk about.
That is a good question. I've been interviewed on this book 100 times. Nobody has ever asked me that. So it's a good question. And here it is. There is a kind of invisibility that happens with aging, that you walk into a shopping mall or a store and there are a lot of people in there and they almost don't see older people. So you can take offense at that, or you can kind of ride on it. So one good thing, if you're invisible, you can do whatever you want to. So I've kind of come to the place where I accept the invisibility, and it makes me freer to be myself. I can be more authentic. When you're young, you think everybody in the world is staring at you, and you have to try to put on this certain atmosphere, attitude, or something. You have to look some way. But as you get older, if you will do it joyfully, you get freer.
That's a great motto, great way to handle getting older, and just so people won't dread being around us. I was at lunch this week with a 29-year-old, and I thought she was younger than that. She was a student at my school, and so we were talking, but I could tell, I could just feel it in my heart that she thought I was older when I was meeting with her in person than I was perhaps when we were on Zoom together. And so it was like we were talking about doing a project together, and I felt like she just decided against that in the midst of our conversation. But older people, not old people, older people can really offer a lot. But at the same time, we can't deny that we're getting older, as you said. I think there's some health issues that creep up. We don't feel quite as good as we used to. Our brains may not process as quickly. I'm sure, Dr. Rutland, you have a brain that processes very fast in light of all that you've done. I used to play competitive sports. I played college basketball, and I think that's one of the reasons why I have so much stiffness in my joints. But you handle aging in your book with humor. We've heard some of your humor in this program. How can we be a little more joyous and positive? What are some practical ways we can be more positive about getting older?
Well, one of the very important ways is a sense of humor. A sense of humor is not knowing what's funny. Anybody knows what's funny. A sense of humor is knowing what's funny about you. And it makes a life at any stage of life, it makes a life more attractive. Sooner or later, everybody raises up under the kitchen cabinet and knocks your brains loose. Everybody does. And you can yell at your spouse and kick the cat and act horrible, or you can laugh at yourself. It's funny. And if you can laugh first, it makes you more attractive and more winsome and more resilient. The second thing is to strive for generosity. As we get older, we tend to occlude all of life. We tend to clamp down. Certainly, sometimes our revenue streams decrease, so we tend to give less. I'm not talking about amount, I'm talking about the spirit of giving, to strive for the spirit of generosity. Remember, the only person in the Bible that Jesus praised for their generosity was an elderly woman, a widow with almost nothing. And he didn't praise her for what she gave. She only gave 2 pennies. He praised her for the spirit with which she gave.
Yes.
And that is one of the well springs of youthfulness is generosity, to praise more freely, to give more freely. And it makes us in our senior years more attractive.
I so love that. I'm so glad you also brought up an elderly woman, and I love that story. All these rich men were throwing in all this money and she just gave from her heart. I
Yes.
also love that you talk about being happy and laughing. I am blessed with a phenomenal husband, and like we might be in a disagreement or something, and one of us will just start laughing, like, it is a hard day. And laughter can get over so many roadblocks when you're discussing anything. And I've also found as I'm aging is nothing's really that important to get fussy about. I just would rather get along. And I know that's the Holy Spirit in me giving me, the Lord's joy and that laughter, that happiness. So, I love that you brought up happiness and laughter. So you refer to something as the comforting delusion in your book. Now, what is this delusion and how is it comforting?
Well, we all live in, not all of us, but many of us live at some level of self-granted exemption. That will never happen to me. It may happen to something, whatever it is. You're driving down the highway and you see a car crash by the side of the road. You don't drive on in second to second dread that that's going to happen to you. You can't live that way. So what happens is a kind of a psychological mechanism inside yourself that says that won't happen to me. It may happen on this road, it may happen to others, but it won't happen to me. So when you're young, it's one of the reasons that young people are often angry at elderly people is because they look at us and it pops into their little minds that they may not be exempt. And they say, oh, that could happen to me.
Yes.
And then they counteract that by granting themselves an exemption. I don't know what happened to that old dude, but it won't happen to me. I won't ever be old. And it's one of the advantages that seniors have over young people is we can remember being young, that is to the extent that we can remember anything, but we can remember being young, but they cannot imagine being old. So we have an advantage over them and we can laugh about it. They'll say things that we know make no sense whatsoever. And we can laugh and say, you'll find out.
One of my top 5 strength finders, Dr. Rutland, is futuristic. So I've already been thinking about what it's going to be like if I live another 20 years. And I do see people in the grocery store and I think in my head, okay, that's going to be me not too long from now. And honestly, I don't want to go back to my 20s. I made so many mistakes in my 20s. I just would hate to go back there again. I've learned so much in these years, past, 40 and up. You learn so much and you begin to mature. But society still wants to cling to its youth, doesn't it? There are billion-dollar industries that create anti-aging products. Lane was talking about Audrey Hepburn, about, how important it is to be beautiful on the inside, but that's not what a lot of people think. They do the cosmetic surgery, the fillers, the Botox in order to look younger. So why do you think it is important, though, for people to focus more on that internal youth rather than the external youth, because it can get pretty depressing as we get older?
Yes, and by focusing on that which is more eternal, as you say, more lasting, more enduring, instead of eternal, let me use the word enduring. If we can focus on that, it relieves us of the desperate battle to fight. I don't have to fight every wrinkle. I don't have to struggle with every gray hair or every lost hair. I don't have, it's not a second to second war over that. I embrace the changes in my life and I embrace the changes in life with more joy. Look, there's a payoff to it. If I always say this to seniors, look, someday you're going to be in a clinic or a hospital or nursing home, whatever it is, and some nurse is coming toward you with a hypodermic in her hand. I recommend you not be mean to her.
Oh, I love that. In fact, one reason to the audience, I am up in Cleveland. I'm from Dallas, Texas. And I'm here mainly also to see my husband's mother, who is in a nursing home. And, it takes every bit of Christ's love to pour into me and him to walk in there, and it's a good facility. We're very blessed, but it's, you know, she's in a wheelchair, and I just pray for her all the time. You know, she gets lonely, she gets down, and it's, you know, all we can do is say, Lord, you know, I am in your plan, your will. So it's just like you said, we have to accept whatever stage we are in next. But I'm at the point, Lisa, is that I still don't see myself as old, you know. So I'm one of those young ones. I go, I'm not going to be like that. But yes, we probably will. Okay, Dr. Rutland, how does this book help us to face our aches and pains without fear of the future? Because just like Lisa, I was a competitive tennis player for years and years and years and years, and then my rotator cuff tore, and I'm still healing. And I keep saying, I'm going to go back and play tennis. And my husband says, no, you're not, because it could get worse, you know. And so I don't want aches and pains. So maybe you can help us with that.
Well, one thing is to admit reality, not living in that kind of denial. I was on this stage. I'd just spoken at a huge church not too long ago, and I was on the stage, and the stairs were all the way at the end. And I had this, it was only like 2.5 feet off of the ground. And I had this brief moment where I thought about jumping down. And then I said, no, that looks like a broken hip and a nursing home. I think I'll just walk down to the stairs. Well, if you can embrace that and laugh at it, it just makes life more bearable for you and everybody around you. The second is to see what is funny. This book only comes with, the new book only comes with one guarantee: double your money back. If you can read the whole book and not laugh out loud even once, we'll refund your money twice over. And the checks go in the mail the day after the rapture.
Love that.
And if you're home to get yours, then you should have laughed.
I need to laugh. I'll tell you what, I'm kind of a serious person. I know I need to laugh more. Lane may agree with me on that. I've just, because when I run the ministry. And so, but you've been in these leadership positions. And so you're still laughing. So you're a great example for me to follow and not be so serious about all the different things we have to do. You have a lot of wisdom that you've included in your book. And what is the most important takeaway that you want readers to gain from your book, Keep On Keeping On?
The most important thing in the book is funny. I mean, it's just one. If you can read the story of my first funeral and not laugh, I defy you. It was the funniest thing that ever happened to me in ministry, and it was the first funeral I ever did. I don't want to ruin the book for anybody, but did you read it? When that guy falls in that grave, it's the funniest thing that ever happened. It happened. I was 22, never preached a funeral before in my life, and it has helped me the rest of my life. There's just some things that the only emotionally mature and psychologically sound and authentically spiritual response is a good belly laugh. There's just some things in life that are funny. And if you can embrace life with joy, unspeakable and full of glory, the Bible talks much more about joy than anything else. And if we can find joy, it will help us right to the finish line. I want to live with joy, and I want to die with joy.
Oh, I love that. I love that. I can't tell you how you have inspired me so much. And so thank you, Dr. Rutland. And after speaking with you today, I'm going to be honest, I feel so much better about getting older.
Good.
And I was sick kind of all last week. And Lisa said, I haven't heard from you. And I said, I've been sick. And it gets you down. I mean, it wasn't bad sick, but it was cold or flu. I don't know what it was. It wasn't bad. But enough to where you don't feel good. And I can feel myself starting to get like depressed, And this, I'm never going to forget it. I'm going to just say, hey, I'm going to have joy and happiness today. I truly mean I'm going to make that decision. So, Dr. Rutland, your new book, I hope everybody gets it, is Keep On Keeping On. And you can find it on Amazon, and you can discover more about Dr. Rutland at his website. It's drrutland, M-A-R-K Rutland, RUTLAND.com. And I'm sorry, it's all one word, drmarkrutland.com.
Hey, Dr. Rutland, I have one more question for you. Is it okay to go to bed at 9 o'clock at night, or is that an old thing?
It not only is okay, at some point or another, I suggest it will be inevitable.
Okay, thank you so much. This was probably the most entertaining, fun show
Yes.
that we've done. And we've been doing this for a number of years. So thank you, Dr. Rutland. This was a lot of fun. And I know everyone's going to enjoy listening to you. And we hope that you'll contact us here at Pop Talk and Pearls of Promise. You can email us at info@pearlsofpromiseministries.com. You can like us on Facebook and follow us on X at Pop Talk Media or at Pearls of Promise. We're on Instagram at pop_ministries, and you're going to want to check out all of our Pop Talk TV shows, podcasts, and award-winning documentaries on our YouTube channel at Pearls of Promise Ministries. So I'm Lisa Burkhardt Worley along with Lane Jordan Burday. That's Pop Talk for today, and we're just ordinary girls
Who God turned into pearls. Have a wonderful week.